Hello Saints, welcome in for another midweek video. Today I wanted to take a brief look at the beginning of Psalm 139. We often go to that psalm when we're dealing with the issues of life and childbirth, and of course that's right that we do that. It's one of the most important books or chapters in the Bible regarding the sanctity of life. But sometimes when we do that, we neglect the first part of Psalm 139, and that's what I wanted to do today, is just look at that. Oftentimes when we're just living our lives and attempting to please God, oftentimes we get the feeling that, you know, he either doesn't really pay attention to us or that he's just tolerating us. And but anyway, I just want to give you this psalm. And we're not going to do the whole thing, and I'm going to read every verse of the first 12 verses, but look at the very first verse. "O Lord, you have searched me and known me." "O Lord, you have searched me and known me." This is what I'm after. I want all of us to have a sense that God is intimately involved in our lives. He says, "You have searched me and you have known me." And then he goes on to say, "You know when I sit down and you know when I rise up." Don't ever think that you're out of the sight of God. Don't ever think you're out of the thoughts of God. His thoughts are always toward you, and because he's omnipresent and omniscient and all the other omnis, he can do all of us at one time. We can be in his thoughts. He said, "You know when I sit down, when I rise, you discern my thoughts." Well, that scares a lot of us right there. I just want to remind you that God knows what you think. I also want to point out, which I've done in the past, that the devil does not. The devil cannot read your mind. The devil does not know your thoughts. Satan is a created being. He is not omniscient. He is not all-powerful. He is not all-knowing. He is not all anything except trouble. And he cannot and does not know what your thoughts are, but God knows your thoughts. And he says from afar, and by that he means, of course, that he's in heaven, but by the Holy Spirit he's here. But he knows your thoughts. Now you can fool me and I can fool you, but you can't fool God with your thoughts. He said, "You search out my path. You're acquainted with all my ways." Watch this one. "Even before a word is on my tongue, you know it." You know it all. You know what I'm going to say before I say it. And sometimes, do you think God cringes because he knows what we're about to say? I do. The ESV says, "You hem me in behind and before." Some of the versions there will say, "You enclosed me in behind and before." And of course, that's obviously when God hems you in, there's a squeezing that takes place. There's a pressing upon that takes place that obviously produces in our life. He goes on to say, "Such knowledge is too wonderful for me." And then in verse 7, "Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence?" Well, there's an obvious answer there, and that is nowhere. You're never going to flee from God's presence. You're never going to escape God's Holy Spirit. Now you can rebel and you can resist and you can choose not to obey the Holy Spirit, but you can't escape the power and the influence of the Holy Spirit. Once you become born again and have received a new nature, once you've been regenerated into a brand new creation, the Holy Spirit is with you and after you, regardless of what you do and where you go. I used to hear people say, "Well, if you go into a bar room, Jesus is going to wait outside for you." That's not true. It doesn't matter where you go or what you do. Now, he's not going to be pleased with everything you do and everywhere you go, but Jesus and by the Holy Spirit is with you. You can't go anywhere and escape the Holy Spirit, and you can't escape God's presence. he goes on to be kind of silly, but he said, if I go to heaven, you're there. If I go down to Sheol, you're there. If I take wings in the morning or fly away, basically, if I dwell in the sea, you're there. Even there, your hand will lead me, your right hand shall hold me. And he goes on to say, we got to have this notion that he knows our every thought. He knows our every word before we speak it. He searches us and he knows us. We can't escape God's attention. But here's a key. He still fellowships with us. He still loves us. He still intentionally has something to do with us. Jeremiah said it this way, can a man hide himself, God is speaking, in hiding places so that I do not see him? Now, I want to tell you that some of you watching this video right now, you've spent a significant amount of time trying to hide from God. Yeah, I was talking to you. And of course, I'm also talking to me. Some of us, and maybe all of us at one time or another, we have attempted to hide from God. We know we either messed up or we don't want to hear what he's got to say. And we've tried to hide, but God said through the prophet Jeremiah, can a man hide himself in hiding places so I do not see him? Obviously, again, there's an obvious answer there, and that is no. He says, do I not fill, F-I-L-L, the heavens and the earth? Do I not fill the heavens? Do I not fill the earth? So there's nowhere you can go and hide from God your Father. And so I wanted just to go over, just hit some high points from this passage. Again, specifically Psalm 139, the first 12 verses. Verse 13 and on are phenomenal. But again, we've dealt with that so much in the past, and we have not dealt with the first part. Here we go. And some of this is redundant, but just hear what God's saying to you. The first thing is God has searched you. God knows you. He knows your thoughts, and he still fellowships with you. He still walks with you. Even when we mess up, he's still there with us. He's actively, not just involved in our journey, he's actively involved in our journey. He is intimately involved in our life. He surrounds us. He surrounds us. He hems us in. He encloses us in close proximity for our protection, for our correction, and for our direction. He's there for us. And finally, there's no escaping the all-knowing eyes and hand of the Lord. Life will, if we will allow it to, life will beat us up. Life will lie to us. The enemy will lie to us and diminish our value and importance to God. But when you read these 12 verses, you have to be reminded afresh of your value to God, of your worth to God. He has placed worth on you. So, well, I'm not worthy. Well, he's made you worthy. He's made you valuable. And he searches your heart and he knows you. He knows your thoughts. He knows everything that you're going to say, not just what you did say. He knows what you're going to say before you say it. And so when we try to go hide from God, he said, well, you can't go anywhere. I fill the heavens and I fill the earth. There's nowhere you can go. And so revel in that idea. Embrace a close God. Embrace a God who is near you. Worship him. Pray to him. Fellowship with him. Knowing that when you stumble, he's still there. He's still there to pick you up, forgive you, and send you on your way. Well, now you go on your way this week, and every chance you get, go out there and act like somebody. You have a good day.